Imagine this. You come home tired, sit on the couch, turn on the TV, and suddenly 3 hours are gone. Sounds familiar? Today, we're going to learn English from a story about that exact problem, and you'll pick up lots of useful words along the way.
I grew up in a house where the television was always on. Morning, afternoon, and night, someone was always watching something. My earliest memories are of sitting on the couch with my parents and my brother, eating snacks while watching our favorite shows. We even had a small TV in the kitchen, so we could watch the news during breakfast or a movie while eating dinner. At that time, I thought it was completely normal. Everyone in our neighborhood watched TV. It was fun, and it brought us together as a family. But now, when I look back, I realize that television was more than entertainment for us. It was a habit, almost like a family member. When I was bored, I turned on the TV. When I was sad, I turned on the TV. When I was happy, guess what? I still turned on the TV. It became part of my daily routine, and I never imagined life without it.
After high school, I went to university in another city. I lived in a dormitory for the first time in my life. Of course, the first thing I bought for my room was a television. It made me feel comfortable and at home. Every evening, I watched my favorite programs to relax after class. But soon, things began to change. University life was much harder than high school. The classes were more difficult, and there was a lot of homework. At first, I tried to manage my time, but slowly, I started spending more and more hours watching TV. I told myself, just one episode, but one episode became 2, and 2 became 3. Sometimes I stayed up past midnight just to finish a show. I was tired during the day, and I stopped going out with classmates. Maybe because of my childhood habits, I didn't know how to talk to people or make friends easily.
By the end of my first year, my grades were terrible. I felt disappointed and angry with myself. I knew something had to change, but I didn't know what to do. That summer, I went back home and spent a lot of time with my family, doing what we always did, watching television. At first, it felt nice. We laughed, we watched our favorite programs, we shared popcorn like old times. But after a few weeks, I noticed something strange. We were together physically, but we weren't really talking. We didn't share our thoughts, dreams, or worries, just opinions about TV shows. I realized that television brought us together, but at the same time, it kept us apart.
When the next semester began, I returned to university with a new goal. I wanted to do better, to become more focused and independent. On the first day back, I unpacked my things, set up my desk, and reached for the remote control to turn on the TV. Then, suddenly, a thought appeared in my mind. What if I stop watching TV, just for 1 week? It sounded crazy, but I decided to try. At first, it was hard. I didn't know what to do with my free time. The room felt too quiet, and I didn't like the silence. But after a few days, something amazing happened. I started reading more. I went for walks around campus. I even joined a student club. Without TV, I discovered that there were so many things I had never noticed before. People, conversations, real life. Week by week, I began to feel different. I slept better, I felt more energetic, and I actually enjoyed studying. By the end of that semester, my grades improved, and I had made several new friends. It felt like I was living in a new world, one that had always been there, but I had never seen it because my eyes were always on a screen. I gave away my television and promised myself not to buy another one. It's been years since then. Sometimes I watch videos online or movies with friends, but it's no longer an addiction. Now I can control it, not the other way around. I don't know if I live a completely TV-free life forever, but I've learned an important lesson. Television isn't bad by itself, but too much of it can steal your time, your focus, and even your relationships. Now I choose real life over screen life, and that's a decision I'll never regret. All right, now that you've listened to the story, let's take a closer look at some of the important words and expressions we heard. These are really useful for everyday English.
Snack. Snack means a small amount of food that you eat between meals. For example, I always eat snacks when I watch TV, like chips or cookies. Brought us together. Brought us together means something made people spend time together or feel close to each other. For example, watching TV brought my family together. We all sat in the living room and laughed. Daily routine. Daily routine means the things you do every day, the usual things you do again and again. For example, my daily routine is simple. I wake up, go to school, study, and watch TV before bed. Dormitory. Dormitory means a building where students live when they go to school or university. For example, when I started university, I lived in a dormitory with 3 other students. Kept us apart. Kept us apart means something stopped people from being close or spending time together. For example, the TV brought us together, but it also kept us apart. We didn't really talk. Semester. Semester means a period of time in a school year, usually about 6 months. For example, my grades were bad in the first semester, but I improved in the second. So, that was the story of my life without TV. What did you think about it? Can you imagine your life without television or YouTube? Today, we learned a lot of useful vocabulary like habit, realize, addiction, and focus. Try to make your own sentences with these words in the comments below. Remember, stories are one of the best ways to learn English naturally. You don't just memorize words, you feel them in real situations.
If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more English learning through stories. You can also replay this video and practice listening. It's a great way to improve your pronunciation and understanding. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, English can change your life.